Hello everyone, it's John from Brisbane and he's tinkering with his camera, so it'll probably be a, oh God knows. Any better? Seems to be better. Now I'm trying to, yes, really professional, here we go, wardrobe and makeup all while on camera. Real Mickey Mouse production, aren't I? Yes, anyway. Hello and welcome to who knows what this production will be. Well, yes, I know what it's about. I've been delving into my archives attempting to find bits and pieces, and today I came across, I'm not known as the archivist for no reason at all. I don't know what I'm talking about, do I? Yes, of course I do. But I find that I keep news clippings and all sorts of things. It was most interesting what I found. Obviously I kept the clippings from the Conquest of the Earth, the Battlestar Galactica movie. Who can remember that one when it came out? I certainly can. When the hell was that? Does it have the no, the newspaper didn't have the but it was showing at the George Cinema. I don't even know if the George Cinema even exists anymore in Brisbane. 346 George Street, a Greater Union Theatre. I don't even know if the Greater Union Theatre even exists anymore. Monday to Saturday, 11 a.m, 2 p.m, 5 p.m, 8 p.m, Sunday, 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. There you go. How's that? That was very interesting. The Earth shudders under the impact of two mighty forces from outer space. Yes, I keep all sorts of things. Oh, there you go. 14th of June 1981. Hit the panic button. Run for your lives. Deadly enemy fleets are hurtling towards Earth and only 2 men can stop them. So there you go. I kept that from all that time ago. So that was a clipping I took from the Sunday Mail. So that was, yes, all very interesting. But I think most of the stuff that I kept clearly was in relation to, of course, when Dungeons and Dragons came out, it was far from well received. I can tell you that. Far from well received. And it was interesting. Hello, what are you up to? Sorry, my little man's just arrived, so he'll probably want some attention. Yes? No? All right, that's good. So what have we got here on the Daily Sun, 7th of the 5th, 1986. Mind game erupts into life. And we've got the controversy over the game Dungeons and Dragons looks likely to erupt into a battle far greater than ever envisaged in the minds of the makers. There is an occult factor in the game. Yes. So that was a interesting... the game has come under fire in the past week following claims it has the ability to dement young minds and even drive some players to the brink of suicide. And this was in 1986. So we got here the New Sun-Times cites a number of cases, mainly from the US. God, don't we love the United States. Where Dungeons and Dragons is blamed for family torment. Family torment. Yes, there we go. It even goes as far as to blame a possible 45 suicides and murders on the strange game. Devilish and wicked game in 1986. So, but yes, it's interesting. So that was an article that was written there, and then there was Parents Back Mind Game. School principals should not blame the controversial mind game Dungeons and Dragons on child suicide, a Brisbane parent group leader said. What's he got to say here? He said, while it's a tragedy that children turn to satanic beliefs, he said was ridiculous. Once again, kids will turn to whatever. Doesn't need a game like this to to put them there. So what do we got here? Yes, we had what have we got? Brisbane Boys College. I think they were Brisbane Boys College. What were they? They were Presbyterian, Protestant. They were a Protestant religion anyway. Well, they certainly weren't Catholic, so I know that much. Said the game should be banned from all schools, and he certainly caused a bit of an outrage at the time, if I remember. A spokesman for Education Minister, Mr. Powell. I think I might have met him at the time. I can't remember. I was working in education back then. Said the government feared banning the game because of the notoriety would give it more popularity. So there you go. And which is quite right. And, you know, the minute you ban something is the minute it suddenly becomes popular. It's the same thing with social media today. The minute you go and decide that you're going to stop people from viewing a particular cause, or decide that you don't want a particular political party or whoever to have access, you suddenly make them, people decide, well, why are you stopping me from being able to see this person or this particular viewpoint? Is there a reason you're stopping me from seeing this viewpoint? Oh, well, make your own decision. I'm not saying you one way or the other, which way you should do. So, yes, and we go on, what do we got here? A scapegoat in Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, I obviously took a photocopy. I must have been when I was, because when I worked in education, we had I was in research at that stage. We had the education department library above us, and they got the newspaper in, so I could go upstairs, and as part of one of the many onerous jobs I had, was obviously reading the paper. Yes, very onerous job that was, reading the paper. And obviously I took a picture. Yes, photocopy pictures. Yes, as if you could do that in 1986. No such thing as a mobile phone and the capacity to be able to take a photo. Well, you could take a photo, but then you'd have to go and take it and get it processed. And processing film in those days was not cheap. So what have we got here? A scapegoat in the Dungeons and Dragons game. What have we got here? Had been made a scapegoat of people trying to explain the high rate of teenage suicides. Oh dear, does this sound familiar? We're finding yet again more excuses to explain teenage suicides. Back then it's Dungeons and Dragons. Now we're finding other reasons to find high rates of teenage suicides. Is there a pattern, perhaps? Is some research body finding its inability to be able to justify its funding existence? Oh dear. Yes, spot the man who's worked in, yes, too many organisations. So anyway, that was, he said, allegations that the game was unchristian was ludicrous. It is no more unchristian than fairy tales. Well, there you go. That was an interesting concept. So, yeah, it was had a lot of fun going through some of this material. What do we got here from the Courier Mail, 6th of May, 1986. School bans game after boy's suicide. Yeah, here we go. Private school has banned the game Dungeons because it believes it contributed to a youth's suicide. Believes it contributed. Yes, well. Here we go. The suppositions of, it's like everything today, you know. Something happens and we decide that we'll make a supposition based on fallacy, and suddenly social media, or in this case, all we had back in those days was newspapers. So, of course, once you print something, yes, far easier to go back and go, well, yes, it's interesting, but it's fun having a back and having a look at how things really haven't changed much with lynch mobs and stupidity from 1986 to 2018, which is yeah. It's interesting anyway. So school bans that. What have we got here? Fantasy game leads to murders. There's another When was this? February the 17th, 1985. This is virtually a year earlier. A group opposed to violent entertainment wants a game banned because it says it led to deaths of 9 teenagers. 9 teenagers! Well, that was interesting. Is banned in one Australian school because the children are too involved in the characters. Well, the kids get very involved with Pokemon. So shall we ban Pokemon? The hypocrisy of today. But anyway, this is 1985. You can see where things are. It's just absolutely hilarious looking at the things that are here. It's that's right. There was a nice acronym here that I thought was interesting. They called themselves ICAVE, iCave. Which, if I can find what the hell the acronym stood for, it stood for, come on, bear with me while I try and quickly find it. Bear with me. I did find it before. Here we go. The International Coalition Against Violent Entertainment, iCave. I'm not even going to bother to look it up, but do they even exist anymore? They probably do. But that was interesting. Says the game should be banned and have notices on the cover of warning potential players of the danger. Or they should, that's what they're saying, is there should be warnings on it. Well, God knows we're heading towards the nanny state now, so I suppose there should be a warning on everything being sold, you know. Warning! This may lead to you taking on... Yes, God knows. Something that will offend somebody, most likely. You know, the game involves attacks, assassinations, spying, theft, poisonings, and magic. Players can be cursed with 20 types of insanity. Yeah, so let's just concentrate on just minor bits. Oh, but hang on. Nothing's changed, has it? We still do that today, don't we? With certain elements, we only pick on certain little caveats within a message or parts of whatever it is that we're trying to sell. But, hey, it was interesting anyway, having a look. So, yeah, it was interesting. To say people who play D&D kill themselves is like saying an actor whose character is killed will kill himself. Yes, rather interesting. But then this was rather intriguing. That where did I see this? There was something here. Like the game had only been... Oh, okay, so it is possible. Like the game did come out in 1974, but you know, it's not. This was from the Courier Mail in 1986, and this person wrote into, you know, the response section in the papers, going, "I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons since I was 5." I love these sort of people. I've been playing since I was 5. Well, that's a very precocious and very well educated child at 5. Must have been a very, very basic roleplay situation. But I'm not saying that that's not possible. I'm just saying I could just see the editor putting this one in as a giggle. Well, certainly for 1986, that would have been probably the ploy. He said, "Teachers have told me that the game benefits us by improving reading and writing skills," which is quite right. It does. People who play role-playing games are, for the most part, above average intellect. And it does help, certainly with articulation, mathematical skills, the problem solving. I've always found it that it's been good. It was interesting here because Reverend Holt was the chap from this Brisbane Boys' School, or Christian College, or whatever it was that I mentioned before. I'm not going to go back and look at it. I only do these in one shot. He says here, Reverend Holt said that the game was unchristian. I wonder if he knew anything about the game when he banned it. Who knows? A lot of people today don't even bother about what it is that they've taken a cause up against anyway. So not much has changed. What's his name? Well, I won't mention his name anyway. So BM from Wynnum North. Yes, it was yeah, things haven't changed much. But yeah, that was interesting having a look at that. So yet again another little article blast. What do we got? What do we got here from 6th of May? Game blamed in death case. Game classed as dangerous and having possibly contributed to a youth's suicide is unknown to University of Queensland psychiatrists, psychologists and child health experts. So at the time, the psychiatry profession weren't even aware of this. So, which was said that one professional that was consulted said might be related to current research on TV violence. Researching TV violence back in 1986. We're still researching TV violence now, so nothing has really changed, has it? But current research into TV makes this point: violence portrayed in the media, even a violent comic, can affect children who already have problems. Well, you see, that's the underlying point, isn't it? Children who already have problems. So you're just exacerbating a problem that already exists. So it comes down to the individual, not so much the content. So I'll probably get roasted by somebody. Somebody will but. Again, it's an individual. And the individual needs to seek the treatment that they need to help them, and that's what is needed. So what do we got here from another article from the Courier Mail, and I have failed to note the date, but it's got here: Snakes and Ladders was never like this. Are you game to play? By Kate Flamsteed, whose life could hinge on the throw of a dice. That's a rather witty. You know, this was back when journalism was journalism. So she says here, we are outside a monastery, me and the rest of the army, awaiting instructions from our leader to go in and face the force that has overtaken the building. And it rambles on. And yeah, it was nice, according to General Mill Creative Products Limited, who manufacture Toltoy games. Yeah, so a rather interesting piece, which is just far too much of a basic appraisal, really, of D&D, which he calls D&D DD, which is interesting. But I like this. She says, from Dungeons and Dragons or DD. But anyway, again, at the time, it was it was interesting to see that at least people were doing articles addressing, or at least looking at things like this. The Courier Mail, 24th of April. When Wizards and Elves come out to play, the fun's all in a game, in the leisure section by Judy Mashinki. I think I particularly kept this one because it was from the Queensland role players' point of view, which was interesting. I sort of questioned some of the information in there, because I actually was on the executive for some time, well, for a few years, not all the time. But it was, what have we got here? Queensland Role Players has now doubled its membership in the last year and now has 160 members ranging in age from 10 to 48, and has bought a $4,000 computer to help players assess their positions and moves in the more complicated games. Can't remember buying a $4,000 computer, and if it did, I think it was kept at an individual's house and was purely used for processing, I think. Certainly I can't remember it ever coming to the club. But anyway, who knows? That's I think it was purely kept for club administrative processes, I think, more than anything. I certainly can't remember it ever coming to the club for for that. But again, remember, this was just I suppose, a party politic to sell the club. So, you know, between what's said and what a journalist write, I suppose, can be conjectural. So what have we got here? Oh, yes, here we go. Oh, good old Keith Doan's in here. Who else was here? Greg Lane is mentioned. We've got a picture. I don't know who these... I know who these individuals are. I know one of them as Michelle Dooley. And the lass in the centre, I can't remember her name. She was one of the editors for the behind the GM screen. And the gentleman on the right, I'm buggered if I can remember his name now. But yeah, so that was that. And there was the... Oh, it probably doesn't show very well. Might pull it back a bit. You can probably zoom or hold, or. But yeah, that was the article from the time. So that was a little blast from the past. What else did we have? We had anyone for Dungeons and Dragons hobbies. When was this? November the 22nd, 1981. Children's game. No, it's not a game for children. Dungeons and Dragons just happens to be the most popular adult game in America today. 55 wargaming associations exist nationwide, most of them in Victoria. Yeah, good old Victoria. They like to think they're the leaders in everything, don't they? Many have no more than a dozen members, but one in Melbourne suburb of Frankston boasts 36 registered gamers. Yes, it was a pity that Queensland eventually overtook all you southern buggers, and I don't think you ever forgave us for that. What else did we have here? So yeah, it was just an interesting article, just, you know, going through, looking at the basic framework. But yeah, it was you know, just an interesting article from the time. As you can see, I just keep so many old bits and bloody pieces. What else? So there was that, and then there was when was this? This must have been an article from Newsweek magazine, Lifestyle. It's only it's a photocopy, obviously, rather poor one at that. What's it got here? College kids are the biggest fans. It's I think Newsweek. I think must be an American. I think it's an American. Oh, who knows? D&D gear. Oh, what's it got here? Zealots, first marketed in '74. It was a front porch industry. It says Gary Gygax, who was 41 at the time. It said now TSR is a $2 million annual business. Company markets D&D. In addition, the firm publishes the Dragon magazine, a $2 monthly magazine. Wow, with a circulation of 10,000. Yes, Gygax estimates that there are more than 300,000 players in the US and about another 100,000 of them worldwide. 100,000 people worldwide. Okay. Some D&D zealots carry the game to extremes. There's a lot of people that carry a lot of things to extremes. So, but yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting anyway. So, I've probably bored you people long enough, and my dog's about to start barking because the puka's antagonising him from the other side of the screen at the moment. It's currently morphing into a bloody magpie and running around the front yard. Yes. Anyway, look, thank you very much for watching this bit of insanity. Oh God, it's gone for 24 minutes. I'm quite sure I've gotten to the end and I've lost everybody, but hey, look, that's a bit of nostalgia that, you know, I've kept for... Yeah, I can just see when my descendants or whoever comes and cleans out all my rubbish, they'll be going through this. Why the hell did this man keep this for? And they'll toss it without any, you know, they won't see where the history or the interest has been. But anyway, look, thank you very much for watching. I hope that was of interest to you. Probably more interest to Australians than it would be perhaps to the international community. But again, thank you very much for your time. So my next little bit of interest is sitting here off to the side. It's another bit of nostalgia. As I said, I've been ferreting through, and I found a lot of stuff to waffle on about. So, till next time, the Honourable John.